So I just want to share with you that I saw there's a spot on the carpet, and I started to pick it up back over there, and turns out it was the sunlight. So I reminded myself of Emmett Kelly. You remember how he used to sweep up the sunlight? Just as an aside.
That's better than a big bug.
Better than a big bug.
Yeah.
Bug.
Going to pick something up and finding out it's sunlight is better than a big bug.
Yeah, you're right. So the topic today is, what if we really think of everything as God, or spirit, or the universe? Use whatever language you feel comfortable with. What if we really think of everything as God? So Ernest Holmes, our founder, said this in his book, The 365 Science of Mind, day book. He wrote, "All nature shows a divine relatedness. I have but to contemplate the blade of grass, the growing leaf, or the solar system to see that which created me has shaped and arranged all things to prosper and exist in harmony." So that's what we're celebrating today, is just the whole idea that it's all God. There's nothing outside of it. And if we really think of everything as God, then everything is sacred. We walk a sacred path. Each breath we take is the inhalation of the divine. Each breath that we exhale is the exhalation of the divine. It's everywhere present, that we call the source, the divine God. And because we're celebrating Earth Day, it's easy for us to think of the earth in relationship to that. Alan Watts once wrote, "You didn't come into this world. You didn't come into this world. You came out of it like a wave from the ocean. You are not a stranger here." And the truth of the matter is, we have a tendency to think in separation. We think of nature. We celebrate Earth Day. We think that somehow or other we are the keepers of the earth. And the truth of the matter is, it is us. We're it. We are nature, as much as a mountain, as much as the ocean, as much as a plant or a seed. We're it. We're nature. And we can't be separated from it. And all is our kinship. We belong to the earth, and the earth belongs to us. And we have grown out of it. We've come from it. But, because we think we are separate from it, we have things that we judge as not good. We judge things as bad, like hurricanes and tornadoes and disease. And lately there's been a lot of conversation about the Zika virus, and because it affects unborn children and gives them microsyphilis, or they don't know what all of the ramifications of the Zika virus is. And there's a lot of conversation of simply eradicating mosquitoes. And if we eradicate mosquitoes, then we get rid of the Zika virus, and we get rid of so many other things that are carried by mosquitoes. And I'm very uncomfortable with that. I am very uncomfortable with that. Scientists say, no, it won't affect anything. And I just jotted down a couple of things that mosquitoes actually do that are positive. The larvae of mosquitoes live in the water and provide food for fish and other wildlife, including larger larvae, such as species of dragonflies. The larvae themselves eat microscopic organic matter in the water, helping to recycle it and clean it up. Adult mosquitoes make up part of the diet of some insect-eating animals such as birds, bats, adult dragonflies, and spiders. They also help pollinate some flowers, and when they consume flowers, they are also pollinating. So I ask again, what if we really think of everything as God? Mosquitoes are that which is. And even if we judge it negatively, the Zika virus or the mosquitoes or cockroaches or snakes, politicians, pedophiles, bats, it's all part of the whole. It is not out there. It's all God. And so when we judge it bad, it's our judgment. Ernest also said in the 365 days, all just as a plain, all life is one life. Hi, Leslie. Welcome.
Thank you.
All life is one life. Just as every physical substance known derives from one universal energy, so there is one life principle, which is God, the divine, in which we all live and from which our individual lives are drawn. He continues, Spirit permeates my consciousness and environment. It is only as you live affirmatively that you can be happy, knowing that there is but one Spirit in which you live, move, and have your being. You may feel this Spirit not only in your own consciousness, but in your affairs. You are united with all. You are one with the eternal light itself. The presence of Spirit within you blesses everyone you meet, tends to heal everything you touch, brings gladness into the life of everyone you contact. Therefore, you are a blessing to yourself, to mankind, and to the day in which you live. Are we really treating the things in our world as they are God? How are we doing that? There's a wonderful YouTube about shopping mall, and there was a plastic bottle, much like this. There was a plastic bottle by the trash, and people came and went and ignored it. Maybe 100 people passed this bottle of empty plastic bottle and ignored it. And finally some woman picked it up and put it in the recycle bin. And from out of nowhere, this whole entourage of people came and sang to her and treated her like a hero because she picked up this one plastic bottle. And that caused me to think, I don't know whether some of you were here when BC started the whole grocery cart movement.
Yes.
And that was that he made it a point to be in the shopping center and take the shopping carts back to where they belonged. And everyone in the community, I believe, I'll speak for myself, me, became very self-conscious about what they did with their shopping carts. And to this day, BC, I still, in the wind, in the rain, doesn't matter, I always take my shopping cart and put it away because BC reminded me of that. So now that I've seen that video, I'm going to be very conscious of what I do with my trash, what I do with my plastic bottles. And you know, when we're talking about eradicating mosquitoes, I also saw that there are some kind of particular mushrooms that now eat plastic. Wow.
Yeah.
I know. Now, but what are the ramifications of that? That sounds like a wonderful idea now. But what happens when they have eradicated all of the plastic and they start moving out into this world with their mushroom appetite for plastic? I don't know, I'm just kidding you. It's all God. And when we talk about things that are unnatural, I always have to laugh. Because if it is, then it is within nature. It is not unnatural. It is our belief around it and what we do with it, the choices that we make. So making good choices from the place of understanding that all is God. And what happens when we start doing that? If we changed our belief from fear about the environment, if we changed our belief about fear of other races, aging, about our food and our bodies, and deepen our awareness of the connectedness of life, our world and everything in it would prosper. How could there then be anything to fear? When we really get clear that it is all God, there is nothing separate, nothing outside of it, then we come to the place of understanding we have nothing to fear because we're part of, we belong to the whole, not separated from it. Now, I have a quote from my beloved Mark Nepo. Haven't read from him for, I don't know what, a week or two? So Mark Nepo on January 6th of A Journey of Awakening says, imagine that each of us is a spoke of an infinite wheel. And though each spoke is essentially in keeping the wheel whole, no two spokes are the same. The rim of that wheel is our living sense of community, family, and relationship. But the common hub where all the spokes join is the one center where all souls meet. So as I move out into the world, I live out my uniqueness. But when I dare to look into my core, I come upon that one common center where all lives begin. In that center, we are one and the same. In this way, we live the paradox of being both unique and the same. For the mysteriously and powerfully, when I look deep enough into you, I find me. And when you dare to hear my fear in the recesses of your heart, you recognize it as your secret that though no one else knew, that you thought no one else knew. And that unexpected wholeness, that is more than each of us, but common to all. That moment of unity is the atom of God. So when we say namaste, and we acknowledge the God in me recognizes the God in you, we are actually united in the atom of God. I love Mark Nepo. So when we talk about judgment, and I admit that I am really good at it. I had an example yesterday that I want to share with you about judgment. It's my habit if I'm going someplace to just wait and, if it's midday, I don't put on casual clothes, I wait and then I dress. And so I stay in my nightgown, stay in my nightie. And then I noticed that when I'm trying to read something, I was trying to read Mark Nepo and it was written in pencil and I couldn't see it very well. And I have this spelunking flashlight that I wear on my head. It sits down and sits on my ears. And also, my dogs bark a lot, and I had this plan, it's still work in progress, that I could shoot them with a water pistol and tell them to be quiet. So yesterday I had this moment of stepping outside of myself and having a vision and thinking, now, So just imagine I'm standing on my patio in Miami's with my spelunking flashlight and my water pistol. And I had this flash of, oh my goodness. And I thought, how many times have I judged crazy old women? How many times have I judged people that were doing ever such bizarre things? And I knew that I had a reason for each one of those things. They were very clear to me, and they were not weird. Fortunately, I have moved from the place where the neighbor caught me talking to the ants. But we're all one. And my bizarre behavior is no different than, well, maybe I am the only one, but I bet that each one of us has done some real bizarre things in our day. And they made perfectly good sense at the time we were doing them. They were very rational. And yet, when they're judged from the outside, when they're seen from the outside, they do look ever so bizarre. Am I the only one?
Pretty much.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okie doke. So when we talk about judgments, I just want you to remember to, what's the phrase that Jesus said, judge not lest you be judged? I got that lesson. Reverend Angelica Taggart reports that she had seen a story with Richard Gere, who spoke of the Buddhist practice that he started doing many years ago. He said that no matter what he was doing or where he was, whoever he met on the way, be it person, animal, planet, or insect, he would silently say to them, I wish you happiness. I wish you happiness. And he said, it's important that that is the first thought that he had in relationship to any person, place, or thing, because it would completely change around his interactions with that essence. I wish you happiness. So this week, I would encourage you and invite you to start thinking about that. First, that when we judge people, from their point of view, their behavior is perfectly logical. And it's often said that everyone is doing the best that they can. Now, I don't know whether using my squirt gun against the dogs and my spelunking, if that was the best that I could do. But for that moment, it seemed very rational and very clever. I thought it was just darn smart until I stepped out and took a look from the outside. So I would encourage you this week to begin every interaction that you have with that personal internal statement, I wish you happiness. Knowing that it is not you against them. It's not something outside of yourself. It is all part of the whole. Dr. Michael Fox said this, the weakness of humanity is our blindness, our cultural blind spot, which some call ignorance, in which a selfish and mature ego claims the world as ours and prevents us from seeing ourselves as part of the world. Kinship with all life is a biological fact, but our cultural way of doing, perceiving, and relating blinds us to this. We're blind to this reality. And so I'd like to conclude then with a quote from Mother Teresa, who diagnosed the ills of the world. I believe she diagnosed them correctly by saying, she suggested that the problem in the world is that we've forgotten that we belong to each other. So with most sincere love, with a great open heart, I say to you genuinely, Namaste. The God in me recognizes and acknowledges the God in you. So I would invite our practitioner for the day to
Just
stand
spread
and
out.
help me
Spread out.
hold the consciousness. Yeah. So if it feels comfortable to you, I invite you to go inside and just connect with the awareness of the place within you that you are aware that God resides. That place within you where you acknowledge and recognize that you are part of the whole. As we think of the vastness of the universe, as we think of the microscopic of the universe, and know and aware of that creative source and force that weaves itself within all things, we are woven into the fabric of all life. We are it. Allow yourself to sit in the peace of that, the awareness of it. I am spirit. I am the creative force and source. I am divine. It is my heritage. Nothing is outside of that essence of it all. Nothing is unnatural, except that I judge it so. If it is, if it exists, if I am conscious of it and aware of it, it is. And I permit myself to sit in peace and harmony with it all. Knowing that it must all be, because the universe would not be whole, it wouldn't be perfect, it wouldn't be complete without it all. And I allow myself to be aware of the power of my creative thought and my creative word. I become aware that I need not eradicate anything. I have kinship. And as I open my mind, as I open my heart to remember that it is all God, and it is all beautiful, and it is all wonderful, I begin to see the truth of that. And my life shifts. It shifts to the good, to the joyful, to the peaceful, to the harmonious. And because I have seen that, because I've felt it, because I've spoken it, because I've acknowledged it, I know that that is true. This prayer that I have spoken is on its way to full, rich fulfillment. So I get out of the way, and I give thanks, and I claim it for each one of us, and I say, and so it is.
And so it is.